Some of the most frustrating times in our trading journeys happen when we are very early in the stage of trading. Usually in these times is when we find ourselves, we haven't yet realised our own character traits yet, and we end up doing silly things like having FOMO or trading with over-leveraged or revenge trading. But if we really boil down to the root cause as to why we do this, aiming for such high profits, stretching the risk to reward as high as we can, shaving the risk with as little amount of pips or ticks as possible. Why do we do this? Well, it comes down to, it varies from different people, from person to person, but I think nowadays in today's society, it comes down to a very obvious reason, which is comparison in society. I think nowadays in today's society, it's very much materialism and numbers which attract attention, and realism which repels. And it's very unfortunate because with most traders, how they come into this industry, it's by the first way, by materialism and numbers. It's very easy for people like us to be attracted to those sort of things. It's a life that everyone wants to live, so I don't blame them. But when that's the case, it means that people are very quickly to brush over the realistic facts of this industry and trading. In this video, I want to talk about setting realistic expectations for yourself as a developing trader, and how to just open your eyes to what's happening in today's world of comparison and social competition. Nowadays, everything's a competition. For the typical masculine male, competition is everything. Our whole lives are competition. However, in trading, bringing this sort of nature and biological mindset that we're instilled with into trading it only works against you. Most people don't realise that these markets are built on the foundation of such traits that will work against us, such as greed and fear, anxiety, causing ourselves to overtrade, feel FOMO, over-leverage. Society nowadays and social media doesn't make that situation any better. When someone has such easy access to the internet and seeing what other people are doing in their trading, and for a lot of influencers out there, it's very easy for them to paint such a bad picture, a more spruced up idea of what they're doing in their trading to make it seem like it's reality. And this is where it starts developing a distrust for most people, because when these bad paintings are posted online, it starts to create these unrealistic expectations for developing and new people in this industry. So people don't even realise that the bar has been set way too high in their own minds before they even begin to start trading. Everyone sets themselves different expectations for what they want to achieve in their trading. whether it be to just replace their working income, if they want to chip away at their bills, or if they just want to become millionaires. All of these aims and goals it's fine. But it's only when you start placing some sort of time expectation on top of it, wanting to be this much profitable by X amount of time, want to make X amount of money by this point in time. Social media is honestly the worst place to be as a new beginning trader, because it invites so much competition. It instills so much into your mind that you shouldn't have to be thinking about at the minute. When you're seeing people make such large figures, the comparison you start making that these are figures that you should be achieving in X amount of time it puts you off to such a bad start. In general, with masculine males, competition is, as I said before, competition is instilled within our biological instinct. Everything is like a measuring contest. It's battle of the fittest. However, when someone like that doesn't realise that the markets are literally made to work against you, it then becomes an uphill battle without them even realising. When I see people out there aiming for such high risk to reward trades, or aiming for such extraordinary targets, the first thing I ask them is this, or the first thing I ask myself, is this realistic? I don't see the problem in going for such, well, nowadays, low risk to reward, which nowadays can be considered 1 to 2s, 1 to 3s. These things can be considered low nowadays according to social media. Most people are only seeing the tip of the iceberg of people's hard work and effort that they've done. But how do you know that these sort of people online that you see in their trades post are just one trade within a sea of losses? You don't know that. As I said before, social media is an easy place to paint the picture of yourself to seem like you're the best trader in the world. It creates a facade. And when you see this facade, you don't realise it's a facade, and you apply these expectations to yourself. And then you start to begin the uphill battle. It's especially common in new traders where they see someone with substantial amount of capital making a few percent a month, and the numbers that they generate from that few percent with substantial capital is amazing, and therefore they start applying this to their own trading on their own little small account, their own little personal account, or their little prop firm challenge. And the typical competitive mindset will want to force such trader to start over leveraging, start taking more trades than they usually would, start revenge trading if they lose a trade. And the more they want to chase it, the more they want to compare themselves and live up to the expectations that they've placed on themselves just from the bad things that they've experienced elsewhere in society. I mentioned before that materialism and numbers attracts and realism repels. So now I want to talk about the realism within trading, because why is nobody talking about the fact that if you just master the skill set, if you just focus on the process, the independent variable of this is the capital behind you. The only thing that doesn't change is your skill set, but the only thing that can change is your capital. Whether you start off with small capital, you can scale up to large capital, and then you can start beginning making the numbers that you see. Aiming for a certain percentage a month, something that's realistic, between like 2 to 6%, I think that's something realistic. Developing that skill set to be able to do that amount of return per month. Imagine if you applied that with a large amount of capital behind you. There's no point swinging for the fences with trying to aiming for like 10% or more with such small capital behind you. You'll be pushing your edge so far and dull it. And then you'll start questioning yourself as to why you're not making the returns that aren't living up to your expectations. The advice I give for this sort of person is to just focus on the skill set. It's like you trying to be in a race, but instead of following the track, you decide to cut through the bushes or cut through the sand, the rocky pathway. Even though it's a straighter path and you might think it might get you quicker towards the finish line, because it's not the most optimal way, you would have been slowed down and endured damage to your car. And it's the same thing for a trader. If you're going to seek for shortcuts and shrug off the realism in trading, you're only going to lengthen your own learning curve or your trading journey. It takes a bit of eye-opening for someone to actually realise this, that I think you have to go through these things in the beginning, because a developing trader's mind is so eager to want to take shortcuts to try and shorten their trading journey or their learning curve. It takes a bit of eye-opening to realise that these sort of methods will only hurt them in the long term. These short-term, quick decisions will only lengthen their journey, and it's a shame because they might hurt themselves along the way. They'll mentally scar themselves, but again, I've said before, while trying to succeed, you have to fail. You have to know where you're going wrong in order to know how to succeed. And sometimes that will mean hurting yourself, going through so much pain and misery in order to actually wake up and open your eyes and realise that what you're doing has been an uphill battle the whole time. These are just some things that I try to encourage some people in my community about trying to stick to the realistic path. But sometimes, for some people, it just means that they have to go through it in order to realise it. There's only so much that someone can say to advise someone who's in their journey as a trader. But they'll only realise for themselves once they hurt themselves and go through pain and misery. And how they come back from that will determine their true nature of their success of a trader and what they'll turn out to be in the long term, if they achieve longevity or not. Well, that was everything I wanted to talk about in this video, and I hope it made sense to you guys. I hope I got the point across, because I don't think I really articulated it that well, but essentially my point is stop pushing for high profits. Stop trying to make as much profit as possible, but instead focus on the skill set, which will do the heavy lifting for you. When you have substantial capital behind you, the numbers is the only changing variable. The amount of money you make will be the only changing variable. And also don't fall victim to your own mindset and society standards. It's not about sizing up and competition, but about staying in your own lane and making sure that you focus on the process. Whatever numbers you decide to make out of your trading, just be content. Aim for lower targets, increase your win rate, and slowly size up. Slowly scale up, not size up. But yeah, that was everything I wanted to talk about in this video, and thanks for watching.